Hey guys, it's Miss Johnson here. I'm back to give you our notes on 7.2. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're talking about inverse relations, inverse functions. Okay. Now that word inverse, when you think of inverse, you kind of think of opposite, and that's really kind of what we're looking at today. A relation, let's just review, is a set of ordered pairs. That's all it is. Taking a set of ordered pairs, putting it together, makes up a relation. So for example, let's say we have the relation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, that's given to you on your page. Now, two words that also may be a refresher for us is domain and range. When we think about the domain, we're thinking about all of the x values. So if you need a little, instead of all the x values, if you need a little refresher, you can write that down. And when we think about the range, we're thinking about all the y values. Okay, so if I were going to list out the domain of this relation, I'm looking at the x values, which is 1, 3, and 5. And typically we write them in brackets like you've seen, or braces, I guess we could say, like you see up in the relation. The range is the y values, so I'm looking at 2, 4, and 6. 2, 4, 6. So that's our domain and our range of our function. Now, when we look at an inverse relation, okay, when we look at an inverse relation, we're really looking at reversing the x and the y values. So an inverse relation is the set of ordered pairs that are found by reversing the x and the y values. So that's literally what we're going to do. We're going to switch x and y. Okay, so if I look at the relation that was given to us at the beginning, finding the inverse of it really just means that I'm switching the x and the y. So the first point, 1, 2, is now going to be 2, 1. The second point is now going to be 4, 3. And the third point is now going to be 6, 5. 6, 5. That's our inverse relation. So we've got the relation that was given to us, and then we've got the inverse, which we flipped the x and the y values. Let's take a look at an example in number 1. It says the ordered pairs of the relation 2, 1, 5, 1, and 2, -4 are vertices of a triangle. Find the inverse of this relation and then graph the two. Okay, so if I'm going to find the inverse of the relation, again, I just need to switch the x and the y's. So the inverse is going to look like this. My first point is going to be 1, 2. My second point is going to be 1, 5. And the third point is going to be -4, 2. That's going to be the inverse of the relation. Now I'm going to graph them both. Okay, I'm going to graph them both on the same coordinate plane. I'll put the relation, the original one, up in blue. So if I do the original, I've got 2, 1, so I'm over 2, up 1. 5, 1 over 3, 4, 5, and up 1. And then 2, -4, so over 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are my 3 points. Now these 3 points together connect to make a triangle. So there we have it. Now if I put the red inverse up on my coordinate plane as well, the same coordinate plane, now I'm looking at 1, 2, and I'm looking at 1, 5, 5, and I'm looking at -4, 2, -1, -2, -3, -4, and up 2. And again, these connect to each other to make a triangle. Okay, so there's the inverse. Now, an important thing to know or to recognize about these inverse is where they're reflected. So if you take a look at how these are reflected, this has been reflected over the line x equals y. Okay, so you can see how they're kind of mirror images of each other over the line x equals y. So let's take a look at how we note these, how we write them out. The inverse of a function is considered to be f to the negative first power of x, f to the negative first power, and that literally means the inverse of f of x. It's kind of like when we had tangent and then tangent inverse, and that was tangent to the -1 power, same concept here. Okay, so what we want to do is to find the inverse, okay, finding the inverse of a function means that I am going to switch the f of x with the x. Okay, switch the f of x with the x. So we'll just write that down. You can put that in your box there on the left. Switch f of x with x. and then I'm going to solve. And then solve for f inverse. Okay, so the first part says find the inverse function of f of x equals x plus 2. So what I want to do is I want to switch the x value and the f of x value. So this and that is going to be switched. So now that looks like x is equal to the f inverse of x plus 2. Once I switch the x with the f of x, now I'm looking at the inverse. So I have to note that by calling it f to the negative first power. And then I want that function alone. So to solve for that, I need to subtract 2, and I have x minus 2 equals my inverse function. Or more appropriately, you'd probably see it written with the f of x, the f inverse in front. Okay. So then if we take a look at some values and just see what happens here, let's say I'm looking at the original function with the value of 5. So the original function, f of 5, would be 5 plus 2, which gives me 7. Now if I take the inverse value, the inverse function, and do plug in 7, I have the f inverse of 7 equaling 7 minus 2, because that's my function there. The inverse is equal to 5. So you can see that when we had the function of 5, it led us to 7. When I take the inverse of 7, it led us back to 5. So it's like our x and our y values have been switched. Let's take a look at example 1 and see if we can just solve that there. Actually I should say that's number 2. In number 2 it says find the inverse of f of x is equal to x plus 6 over 2. So again, I want to switch the x and the y values. So I'm going to switch that with that. And what that's going to look like is having x equal the inverse of x plus 6 divided by 2. So there's my inverse function. It's just that now I need to get that inverse by itself. So to do that, I'm going to have to get rid of that division of 2, or in other words, multiply by 2. But again, whatever I do to the right, I have to do to the left. So I multiply by 2 to cancel that denominator. Now I have 2x is equal to the inverse plus 6. And then the only other thing I need to do there is subtract the 6. So 2x minus 6 is equal to the inverse of x. Okay. I want you to pause the video at this time and see if you can figure out number 3. Go ahead and try and find the inverse. Remember, you're going to switch that f of x and x. Let's flip over to the back. We're actually going to skip number 4 and come back to that tomorrow, but let's take a look at number 5. Actually, you know what? We're going to stop there today. This is going to be the end of our video. So thanks for watching, and we'll come back and finish up the rest of the notes tomorrow. Have a great evening.